Is Robert Downey Jr. joining the Filoni-Favreau Star Wars universe? That's the latest rumor that we have right now, and it would continue to give us more insight that there is a clear divide at Lucasfilm between Kathleen Kennedy's vision and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni's vision. Now, again, that doesn't mean that there is just two wide factions that don't speak to each other and everything like that. It just seems like there is different visions. There is the Kathleen Kennedy side, which is more into pandering and pushing representation and diversity and trying to make Star Wars a social justice propaganda platform. And then there's the side with Filoni and Favreau, which is far more interested in giving good Star Wars stories. And the fans have clearly unified behind one of those visions, and the other vision has continued to drive Star Wars into the gutter. Now, I have heard for over a year that Lucasfilm was a house divided, and the more we see these creative efforts like the High Republic, which is nothing but SJW pandering, versus something like The Mandalorian or the Clone Wars Season 7, which is clearly something that the fans have responded to and shown Lucasfilm that they love that. But it's just a weird dynamic. But now we have another report here from Pirates and Princesses, and it says Robert Downey Jr. in talks to join Jon Favreau Filoni's Star Wars universe. Very interesting indeed. Now, this is from WDW Pro, and it says, we told you that big news would come out of Lucasfilm over the coming weeks, and based on the headline of this article, I think we can safely say that it's coming to fruition. It says Robert Downey Jr. is in serious talks to join the Favreau-Filoni Star Wars cinematic universe, and they're giving credit where credit's due to Daniel Rickman, who was able to beat them to the punch on breaking the Robert Downey Jr. news publicly. That said, I think we can add some additional information Rickman was not privy to, and then it talks about Robert Downey Jr., it was reported that he inked the deal, but as far as we know, there are currently no signed contracts. And it says, here's where we believe the talks are going for Robert Downey Jr. joining the Favreau-Filoni Star Wars cinematic universe. It's important to note that Downey and Favreau have an excellent and friendly relationship. Both hold each other in a very high regard. Now, that's true because Jon Favreau was instrumental in rebuilding Robert Downey Jr.'s career when he fought to have him cast as Iron Man. And obviously, Jon Favreau was very instrumental in the early planning of what became the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the most successful thing we've ever seen in Hollywood. I don't love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it's really good and it's enjoyable. I enjoyed the later half of the MCU more so than the first half. Infinity War is where it peaked for me. But Favreau was obviously his fingerprints are all over that. Now, it says, furthermore, at this time, we believe Jon Favreau is actively recruiting other big names that would normally be associated with the theatrical releases. This seems to solidify our understanding that a paradigm shift is occurring in which streaming series are rapidly becoming the marquee form of entertainment, with theaters across the globe losing the ability to stay open due to the pandemic. And yeah, consider that The Mandalorian has become the most pirated entertainment property within the last month. You'll realize just what a success that show has become and what Jon Favreau is hoping to do with the other interwoven series branching off of it. The caveat of all the good news about streaming series and the idea of pulling blockbuster celebrities is the issue of rewatches. Let me explain, and they kind of go into that. Ultimately, it says, to summarize all of this, we do believe, based on what we're hearing and other publicly released reports, that Robert Downey Jr. is in talks to join the Favreau-Filoni Star Wars universe. We believe those talks for a substantial long-term role. We believe there will be soon to be additional talks to bring other major actors. So all momentum and company backing leverage does seem to be behind Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. It would not shock us at this point if Robert Downey Jr. takes the role of Grand Admiral Thrawn or some other major piece. That would be crazy. It's hard to process a lot of this information. I mean, ultimately, what do we know? We don't know for a fact that there is a divide at Lucasfilm. We have heard that there is a divide. Again, I have heard this for over a year from my contacts at Lucasfilm. And again, if you look at the creative efforts, it's clear. Like, look at the High Republic that just released today. And it's just unbelievable cringe that seems to have nothing to do with Star Wars and all to do with propaganda and pushing agendas. Whereas The Mandalorian feels like Star Wars. The Clone Wars feels like Star Wars. And it's clear that it seems there are two visions. Now, with Robert Downey Jr. potentially getting involved, that would be crazy. And the rumor that he could be Grand Admiral Thrawn would be insane. Robert Downey Jr., it's hard to call him an A-list celebrity because while his Iron Man is box office gold and one of the most marketable characters in the history of Hollywood, Robert Downey Jr. has been in other films since his role as Iron Man, and they don't pull the same amount of, attention. They still pull some attention. Robert Downey Jr. is a massive star, but Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark is box office gold, and you cannot dispute that whatsoever. But he is still a huge star, a big name. And bringing a big name in like that to play a potential role of Grand Admiral Thrawn would be insane. And we don't know if this is true. This is all speculation. This is all reported at this point in time. So we're going to continue to follow this. Star Wars is in a weird place right now. And I just uploaded a video earlier talking about the disastrous High Republic trailer. And now we're talking about this. We're coming off The Mandalorian, which everyone loved. We're coming off the Clone Wars Season 7, which everyone loved. And then we have the sequel trilogy, which everyone hated. It's just a weird situation, but we'll continue to follow this. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have a great day. Thank you very much for checking out this video, and we will talk to you later.